Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. I have several small discussions regarding agenda. But before the day is over, we will do. I promise we will have more laboratory work and most probably more empirical evidence and videos. But it's important to discuss agenda, and I do it a lot. So first of all, there are several cute fellows from the Earth intelligence community that tell me, okay, it's so nice, but you don't understand it. This could potentially create new diseases. So I'm speechless. I'm really speechless. What part of the sentence, me and my daughters are prisoners in an horrible Nazi prison, did you not understand? The Nazi prison, me and my daughters, I am speechless. Second, some more high mind. It's good. I do not disparage it. I encourage it. Several more high-minded crowd or audience of mine asked me a kind of a very. No, really, I'm serious. It's not ironic or cynical. They asked me, okay, you possess such an amazing material at your possession. And this can be used in so many ways. We understand that you chose the way of species improvement and replacement, and we appreciate your decision, and we understand that it was inevitable under the conditions that you live in. But we would like to know, even just theoretically, what do you think that? You are a religious person, and you believe in telos, in purpose, that people purpose, and you yourself a purpose, and you believe in God. And in any case, it's certain that to us that you were designed by an intelligence agency. Not an intelligence agency. An intelligent agency, not intelligence agency. Intelligent designer, which is God for all purposes. So, when God created you and specifically reincarnated you on this place, so what do you think He wanted you to do with this stuff, with the neurons? Because okay, you can. No, not even God can guarantee that you will actually do it, because you have a free will, and besides, you depends on other people, and they also have free will. But according to the optimistic scenario, which we know did not materialize, what do you think, if you have any thought on the matter, that God wants you, or your father, or your intelligent designer, or the flying spaghetti monster, whatever? What does He want you to do with this material? So the answer is yes, I know, because I've asked Him and He told me what was His plan. It's not that difficult to understand. It was very, I could have understood it myself, by understanding, the rest of the story, and by analyzing the rest of the story, and I've done it with you, with my audience throughout the last years. But you already told me very, 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 very decisively what is the purpose of this material. The purpose of this material is to have children. But I must be the father and also the one that raises the children. I am not a farm animal. I do not supply semen for other people to use and to create children that they will grow up. They will raise. No, it's not the case. And I've written about it extensively, by the way, in a prophetic blog post, which is called Why the Last Man. Written about it more than 2 or 3 years ago, and you can still read the post. And I reposted it in Facebook, and I mean in Twitter as well, and everything is there. No, I'm not. I my children should be raised by myself, and the main problem for me to have more children is the fact that I already have two, and the government is doing everything that they can to keep them away from me. And this was started when they were born 7 years ago and 6 years ago, respectively, and it happens until now. And I should I should write a response to the family court. Right now, I cannot see my daughters at all because of draconian and inhuman social workers and that wrote a terrible, and completely detached from reality and terrible review of my parenting capabilities, because I cannot be a father. Because a snail can be a father to his children, and a deer, and like an orca whale, and of course the grizzly bear. But I'm not developed enough to be a father. You understand it? I have disproved almost any major scientific discipline that is known to humanity during the last 2 weeks. Like every day is perhaps worth like a Nobel Prize or more. But yet I'm not in, and it's not enough for me to be able to raise my children. And it's also curiously not enough. Also the fact that I actually raised them since they were born in shared custody until now, and they grew up fine with me, and they love me, and they miss me, and they ask every day why we not come to take them, like I always did, since they remember themselves. And I need to write a comment, to this, and I don't know even when to start, because what they really want for me is to state that I'm crazy. They want me to be hospitalized in a mental institution, so the people will not know anything about me, because the objective is to take it for the because they know it was a lot. You think the Israelis don't know about the stuff they call news? They take it away from me. And they want to keep taking it away from me. That's the whole thing. And the social workers that wrote the review are actually the operators of my ex-wife. Isn't it funny? Democracy 101. Democracy. And I've written many papers to the court throughout the years, because the government always took care that I'm involved in trials above the head, so I will not be able to raise more children, because the most important thing is to raise the children that you already have. And if the government takes it right and duty for me, I cannot have more children, and they know it. And it's part of the agenda of the Israeli government and population for many, many years now. And this thing, it predates me by much. They conduct genocide or xenocide on the Titan, on the Venusian population, since many, many decades. And this is just another chapter, because they understand that I am a key for this species to regenerate on Earth, even though I do not belong to this species. But still, I can create children that belong to this species, and they don't want it. They want them to be slaves. So that's why they do everything that they can. So I will not raise more children, because they know me. They don't know me very well. It's not difficult to know me. I'm not a monk. I had friends, I had colleagues. I spoke, I wrote. All these years. It's not like I didn't come like out of the shadow, out of the cave. So everybody knew me. And they knew that I'm the kind of person that will do everything which is in his power to raise his children. I'm not going to abandon my children. And of course, if I cannot even raise my two daughters, it's not even thinkable. It's inconceivable to be able to raise more children. And the government knows that very, 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 very well. And they don't want me to raise more children or to have more children. They want to take the Negroes for themselves. That's the way it always has been. And this, in a very short, this is a very short version of why the state of Israel is going to be destroyed. The country itself, the land will be destroyed. There will be no people here at all, of any kind or any religion, any nationality. And why the earth is also going to suffer dramatic events that will utterly crush the Homo sapiens species. It will not destroy it completely, unfortunately, because that's what God decided, but it will be nerfed. It will be downsized considerably. Because we had enough for genocide and genocide. We can't continue with this. So that's what God wants me to do with this stuff. To have children, but God understands very well that I cannot have children if I cannot raise my already existing children. And God knows exactly who prevents me from raising my children, which is the government of Israel and the population of Israel, because they want to have slave species, and they want this stuff for themselves to do whatever they want with it. And of course, it's not the first chapter of this opera. There were many chapters in the past that I've spoken about it. I mean, at a great length. This drama or tragedy spans more than a century, and it had several major chapters. I mean, there was a major chapter during the late 70s or up to the early 80s, but there were other chapters as well. There was an important chapter at the early 2000s. And there was a chapter during the 60s, and each chapter it was kind of like an international drama or international scandal. But I mean, the bottom line is that people around the world know about this stuff, and they support it because they want the genocide to continue, because they profit from it. Okay, so I mean, I cannot I know that I've said everything already many times, but I must say it again and again because maybe someone does not understand why Earth is destroyed. I mean, why God is angry on you. So that's the reason. God doesn't like Nazis, and he doesn't like genocide at all, and he doesn't like that the foreigner. The people takes the children for foreign in order to eat them, or I don't know why. No, God doesn't like it. And especially he doesn't like it when it continues for more than a century, and they don't learn no lesson at all. They just become more and more evil. God doesn't like it at all. Okay. So now for the practical part, science. So, as many of you were excited by, the notion of very large organism. Megastructure and gigastructure, and I was also excited by it, and I decided that I want to intentionally prepare one like the snail. I'll do it in two. One snail and one I'll try to create a fly, a very big one, relatively. Any kind of a fly that which will be seen by a naked eye, which are all kind of house flies will be, in my context, in the context I speak about, will be very big. If not gigastructure, it will be certainly constitute what I call megastructure. And a snail in the size that was already drawn in the red oil can is certainly what I call a gigastructure. We don't want to recreate the T-Rex or the Brontosaurus, even though I'm sure it's possible. It's something that I'm sure it can be done. But what I want now is to gain momentum, so people will understand, more and more people will understand my condition, and will tell the governments, this person he lives in hell, in a Nazi prison. He must be rescued using legs and arms, not mouths and tongues. And for that, I need to gain traction, and I think that showing large animals, even if they will not be moving or they will not be live, but large animals that they're created by nanobots is could stir enough provocation. So, okay, many people said, okay, the problem that you have is that the neros are melting, because you said it yourself that they like cold temperature. You said it a long time ago, and this was also, proved. The claims were substantiated again. During the test that you yourself conducted last night. You've done you uploaded three videos with the conclusion that it's not very good for them to be burned. Or even to be thawed. So yes, but the problem is that I have experience. I already have plenty. I have some experience with cultures or containments that inside the freezer. I can't. I mean, I always have things in the freezer. Even right now, I mean, a lot of new stuff in the freezer. That maybe some of it I will check with you today. I'll show you videos. But the problem is that it always like starts like optimistically, and then it halts. Like things don't like move on, like they don't grow as I want them to. And I think that the reason perhaps is that they don't get oxygen or perhaps other material. And things in the freezer I must keep like locked, like completely airtight, because unlike things that I mean. Like canisters or cans that I use here in my room, which I can open from time to time or keep totally open, because I mean it's one thing to share like your scientific results with your neighbors, which is something that I gladly do, and it's even part of, I mean, it's explicitly part of my political project. But it's another thing to share, I mean, your valuable lessons with I mean the food that, I mean, the family that where you stay is eating. I mean, so it's not, I mean, it's not the same thing. So again, I mean, I encourage myself to share my results with like the people of the street, Kukia Street in Rishon LeZion, but not specifically inside our own freezer here in the apartment. So I can place things in the freezer just if they are completely sealed. So it still leaves the possibility of like placing the stuff in relatively like bigger canisters than like the minimal that they required in order for air to be, I mean, it exists there, and from time to time you just open it. And maybe I'll do it today. Maybe I'll start today. Because they do require oxygen, and they require other stuff as well. I mean, so that's what we'll do. I would say that I mean, what I plan now, I mean, I want to create two, as I say, giga or mega structure. One will be this the snail, and the other one will be a fly. I'm using like a drawing of a fly, or like a sculpture from a wire, from like a iron, I mean, from metal wire. So I tell you what I thought. I thought about, I mean, the following method. I mean, I will use I mean, so again, for the model, I will either use the wire, or I'll just draw something, or I'll use silicone again. And I think silicone is the best option because it also gives them silicone to work with. But the ground, I mean, the main medium will be oil color, which I'll prepare today, not like dried one, but a fresh oil color, which is quite liquid. I will put a lot of, I mean, I don't have many left actually, because I don't use it all that much. It's like the solvent that I actually use the least in my artwork, linseed oil, because it's, the problem is that, I mean, it's not a problem. I mean, in art there are no problems, because I mean, everything is you can do everything in art. I mean, everything, even if it seems like totally wrong, perhaps in some kind of context for certain specific artists it will be correct. So I mean, there is no right and wrong, but I mean, typically for many artists, and also myself, I don't want to prolong the process of the different layers of oil drying, because then it will take a lot of time for each. I mean, and I'm okay with the fact that it takes many days and sometimes many weeks and sometimes even months for all painting to materialize. It's part of the fun. I'm fine. I mean, as I said before, I like the preparation. I mean, I can spend the night just preparing colors, and I mean, artists have done it like what, like five. I mean, that's not all history, but since all colors were invented, maybe 600 years ago. So it's not something new. You need to like it, and I do like it, but I don't like it to take too long. So as many artists, including myself, I mean, we used to mix solvents which make the drying process a little quicker. And turpentine is one of them, and liquid, and many other brand names. And I mean, it's not that important right now, but linseed is not one of them. Linseed actually make it even, I mean, it makes the process even lengthier. So I don't use it much. I don't have much, but I think I have enough in order to create a layer which will be liquid, but not. I mean, but still it will still be relatively thick because that's the property of oil color. So I mean, it will like it will be if you have the oil consistency which is as we saw, it's agreeable. It's agreeable to Neros, and it will not be too high, maybe 1 centimeter maximum, and it will also no, it will be even less than 1 centimeter, maybe half a centimeter. And I'm thinking, I'm designing it as I speak with you right now. So that's why and the model, the silicone model will be slightly higher than that. Just you will see like the back of the top of the snail, or the top of the fly from outside of the ocean of oil. Because I want myself to be able to see it. It's not that I don't think that the Neos can identify it inside the pool. They can identify it very well, but I won't see it myself. And I will use several oil colors actually, which to make it like more interesting, not just one oil color in each container. And also I'll cover it with relatively a lot of semen. Like I have several syringes stored. So I'll use, all of what I have on the two. I prepare another one now, and I'll have everything on those two new experiments. And also, what I will do is, again, I said it stinks, but it helps. It helps. I will cover the whole thing with a very thin layer of pee. Because it does help, because it contains Neros, first of all, and second, it gives, you require some more moisture. Not too much, but you do require some moisture, because when it's all dries, it's impossible for the Neros to move, or it's very difficult for them to move. So we don't see like activity in completely dried slide or dried can. And there will also be some space for air and oxygen to be kept inside the canister. And I don't think that we need to add any organic material. On the contrary, I want from now on to just skip this part, and the Neros it should suffice for the Neros to use the silicone and the oil to do whatever they want. They don't really need organic material, and they also they remember. They have the memory. They remember how things are looking. They don't need to be told how a snail looks like. So I know this is perhaps the most outstanding fact of everything, and the most difficult for humans to grasp, but it's a fact. They have memory, and they are more than capable of symbolic thinking, and they communicate with each other. So they don't need to clone. If they want to create something, they don't need the exact copy to be there. They can they can speak with each other, and of course they will need some kind of instruction. But if you don't give them any instruction, they just find. There are always scratches on any surface, almost any surface. So they just look at the sketch, the biggest scratch, or the sketch that they like, and they interpret it in a way, and then start to create life forms. Because things always, but I want to create some kind of a model which will be, bold enough or distinctive enough, like the snail one, so they will know to create a snail. This is also a kind of experiment to see if they can recreate almost the same snail as they did last time, if I give them the same kind of model. And it's not a problem, just a silicon strip which is placed like V. It's always very interesting to see. And as I said, the small, the very thin level of pee is actually helpful to keep moisture, and it's much better than water, because water, first of all, it's not purified unless you boil it, and even then, it's not always purified. And second, it doesn't contain Nero, so it significantly dilutes the sperm, because there is not just the sperm, the semen layer. And you don't want the semen layer to be too diluted, because then then they just swim. They don't do their job. So it's like oil paint, and with the silicone inside, and just on top of it, and on it a semen layer, like cheese, and on top of it a little bit of just a little bit of pee, which will keep it moisture, and maybe if you see that it dries, or maybe if it's getting, I mean, it will probably just freeze. So if we see that it freeze, I can add from time to time, because I mean, it's kind of a container that, I mean, it needs to be washed. I mean, you can't just leave it in the freezer. I would say that I have already done something like that, but in small scale yesterday. Because yesterday, I mean, you know that I received like new slides, proper slides, and also containers for slides, and all sorts of like stuff that are used to stain stuff, and all sorts of like cheap laboratory utensils and stuff. So yesterday I prepared actually many slides, and also several mixtures in small plastic containers, and I've also already put in the freezer several mixtures, and they actually some of them were pretty, I mean, similar to what I've just described, just in small scale, including the pea and the oil and the cement, and I mean, so I've actually already done it yesterday, but in small scale. So it's interesting to see what we've got, and hopefully I'll do it later today. So maybe a word of two regarding stains. There were a lot of, I mean, yesterday I used stains a lot. I have only two stains which are the most used, and I don't know yet how to use it very well. Both like from the practical, like from practical point, and also like practical point of view, and also from the theoretical. I don't even know what it means. So I mean, but I do find that, I mean, the people use stains, specifically those two common stains, not only because they want to like identify specific objects, like to know what they are, but also, I mean, to make them distinct, so they will be seen. And this is also important, and this is a legitimate concern that I've seen that is actually very helpful to stain slides. So maybe I'll continue doing it, but I don't know how the stain will react in the freezer. But I already have many stained like slides in the freezer, so we will know the answer to. I mean, this evening when I review the slides from yesterday after like maybe 20 hours or 18 hours of being freezed. I mean, I would say that the most simple experiment was the one with the blood, and it actually turned out very well, because it's just, we have seen, it was very, like, according to the book, just, plus the robotic angle. Yes, indeed, the red stain, colored the red blood cell very nicely, very nicely, and the blue stain also colored the blood, but in a different way, which made the neurons much more visible. And later I've used this knowledge. Actually, I don't know if I spoke about it yesterday, but it's actually indeed it makes. It's one of the advantages of the blue stain, and this is something that I learned yesterday, and it was demonstrated again and again, that it makes the neurons much more. And many times I want to actually to locate them, and sometimes it's difficult to identify. Differentiate between them and other microbes, because there are microbes that look like very similar to the neurons, and there are also the issue of bubbles. Then bubbles also look like neurons sometimes. So with experience, I tend to like I'm developing an intuition, and I think that with time, with the time that passes, I know how to identify them much better and better. But still, the blue stain is really helpful, and much more than the red stain. And this probably has some kind of, for certain it has some kind of chemical importance, but I have no idea what it could be. I could read, and it's interesting, but I'm actually, I'm right now, there's so much stuff that I need to learn, and I'm kind of like in a practical spree right now. Like, I'm very, very, concentrated, focused on like gaining momentum for the political project, and getting like, perhaps to gain understanding or empathy from people like simple people around the world, because obviously like political people and people of the intelligence community don't show any empathy towards my state, no matter how like dire and severe it is. So what I want to do now is to gain perhaps support, popularity, or perhaps like even just empathy from people. And for that purpose, maybe it's not that important right now to understand the chemistry behind staining, even though it's very like interesting and could help a lot future research for certain. Um, um, so it was nice. And also kind of like a provocative thing that I started yesterday, but actually I've done it after a lot of like smaller experiment that I haven't like, I do not record everything and I do not like speak about everything, because I'm as you understand, I only show you highlights in the YouTube. I'm doing other stuff which is like less important or turns out to be not that important. So it actually, there were several, like preludes, introductory experiment before the one that I called the Micro Coliseum opening event. But it's I put it in the freezer, and it's very interesting to see what we have. The main idea was like to paint the life forms that are artificial in blue, and to paint the biological ones in red. But it didn't really turn out that well, because some part of the slide is actually stained that way, and from that part I took the thumbnail, which I think is amazing. Like, you have to agree with me, it's like a very nice, it's a cool thumbnail of the red and blue fighting. But in the other slide it just got mixed, and when it mixes, the blue is the stronger one. The blue, it takes precedence, and it looks like an ocean with several shades of blue. And we might not know even, it's one of the things that I want to look at today. To see, they will fight each other for certain. They will not coexist, because they do. We see. It's metaphor. We see it right now. It's a shame, but after 39 years, you have to admit. We didn't like. It's not our destiny to coexist. The synthetics and the biological ones, it's probably, I don't know, it's kind of a destiny. Or, I'm saying that it's destiny, even though I know that it's not a destiny. But I want to be like cautious, because I want, as I said, to gain like support. So I'm not saying what I really think, but you know that, it's because of you. You are assholes. You are scumbags, and it's probably true not only to Homo sapiens, but also probably true to like lower life forms. So probably Titanomachy is inevitable. So they will fight, but I'm not sure we will be able to say very convincingly who is the dominant type, because I'm not sure there is a way to actually differentiate between them on the slide. There is no good way to do it between humans, and so for microbes it might be even more complicated. So, but let's when we get to let's think about it when we get to it. It will be interesting to like to review the slide anyway. Okay, so that's it for now. A lot to do, a lot to prepare, a lot to review, and well, stay tuned for more action.